This episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast is brought to you by Audible.com.
Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky.
Audible.com. Over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player.
Warning!
The podcast you're about to hear is very filthy. We say naughty words you would use as an adult anyway. It'll cause you not to eat your vegetables, and your mom generally thinks it's a bad idea.
Any moment of the show that has any similarity to the history of any person living or dead, real or fictional, to real events are entirely unintentional and coincidental. Unless we're specifically noted otherwise in the cast and crew credits, all celebrity voices are impersonated, and no celebrity has endorsed any aspect of this show.
Coming to you from the D4K studios in Columbus, Ohio, it's the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky.
Hey everyone, welcome out to episode 166 of The Good, the Bad, and
Redo
the
it.
What?
Redo it. You said 116.6.
I did. I said 166.
No, you didn't.
3, 2, I'm not fucking doing that shit.
Do it again.
Episode 166 of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. And I'm Nick Nitro. Along with me, as always,
DJ Meat.
And John.
Wow, you switched up the
We did,
order.
I did.
Wow, that's daring and bold.
I waited.
Yeah, way to go. And
I
you're
did not
listening
wait.
to episode 166, the week of April 3rd, and you're listening to us either on your fine audio podcast device made for your ear holes, or you're listening to us on TalkSuperstation.com. Well, we have how's everyone's past few weeks gone? Because we've been sort of had a little. Well, you two have had a break, so let's.
What day is it?
It is the week of April 3rd.
Yes.
Tuesday, April 3rd.
I am on spring break.
Really?
I am.
That is pretty
I
awesome.
had a pretty eventful student teaching. I still have technically 6 days left, so I have the rest of next week, and then I have to go. My last day is on a Monday.
On a Monday?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, because it's been well documented on the show that that you've had some problems with your previous teaching. You've not had fun. You've learned, but you've also not had a pleasant experience with whoever those individuals are.
So not pleasant that I will do anything to skip this conversation.
Well, no. What I was trying to lead to
John,
was
is there
that
anything that you would like to talk about?
what I was trying to lead to was
I
the
kind of like to
past.
talk about your experiences.
How is your baby?
Yes. I was trying to talk
sitting
about the
up?
previous. Just turn your mic off for a second. What I was trying to lead to, Nathan, if you listen for a second,
Is she walking?
and now you made me turn off poor John's mic.
Now what are you going to do?
Yeah. What I was trying to say, though.
Am I back on?
No, you're not. What I was trying to say.
Mine's not on either.
No, it's not on either.
Either.
It's just mine. Either.
So it doesn't matter if either of us talk.
No, it does matter because
Now you're talking to yourself.
Okay. Yeah, we can still barely hear you.
So I just got to talk louder.
Okay. What I was trying to get to, John, since I'll talk to John since
Okay.
Nathan's not listening.
If we're done with it, I'll
is
listen.
that being that you were not having fun before, you were actually having a good time with us. When you're learning a lot, you're enjoying the experience 100%. That is what I was trying to get to.
One blink will mean yes, two blinks will mean no.
That's
Yes, I am having.
He is agreeing with you,
I had a better time, and I'm excited to finish up. If I'm on, if I'm not, they have no idea what I said.
that's fine. You're on now. You're on. No, I was just trying to lead to that you're actually having a positive experience now. You're very happy. Every time I talk,
Jovial.
you are. Every time I hear a Facebook message or I text you like, how's stuff going, by the way, you actually are like going really good. Actually, I'm doing this. I'm tired all the time, but I'm really doing this.
Yes, it's going very well. I'm very excited. I'm upset that it's going to
having
end,
a
which
good
is a
time,
good
and
thing.
it's going very well.
Yes, it's going very well. You're upset. It's
He
going
had
to
a
end.
good he had a good well time.
You had a good well time.
Bitch. Too right.
You did say that, didn't
well
you?
time.
Good well time. Quito, righto. But no, so I'm glad that you're enjoying it, then, man. Because seriously, you've commented before that you've not had fun with your other experience. So
Yes.
that's good. What about you, John? What's new in the world of John? What new and amazing
let's
things?
see here. Today's April 3rd. I'm actually going.
I am.
I'm going up to Cleveland tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're going to a food show.
Do they have like competitions within the food show, like for best whatever?
I'm sure they do. They probably have like I don't know. They might not.
The only reason I ask is because when Flyers would go to a pizza convention, they would actually have like a best new pizza or whatever.
Oh, yeah. This isn't. This is just introducing new products and trying to.
Yeah.
You can go and order stuff that you already get.
Introducing the
incentives and.
Gotcha.
Things like that.
That's cool. Which, by the way, for those who don't know, John runs a little place here. For those whoever stopped by Columbus, Ohio, York Steakhouse, which you probably remember York Steakhouse. Yes. So, and it's awesome. I love it.
If you're from the East Coast. If you're listening on the West Coast, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes. But if you look up York Steakhouse online, you can find a lot of information about it.
Did you hear my comment about the new product that is going to be at the show? It's going to be the Fife.
The Fife?
The Fife.
It's
like a fork with another...
Got 5 prongs.
Prong! I don't go to the
You know what? That joke would have been great if you actually knew the word.
Well, Fife is technically from his thing that he did.
Yeah, but considering it's also part of the word,
oral interpretation.
Also considering it's part of the word, you'd figure you'd
part of inflationary language.
A shtick.
It's a shtick.
Yeah.
So that's good. I've been doing pretty good. Thanks for asking, everybody. Yeah.
I wasn't done talking, but whatever.
No. I'm sorry. What else were you going to say?
It's okay.
No. Let's go back. This is your moment, John.
We're going to have a good time. What would you like to talk about, Nick?
Well, are you going to visit your brother while you're up there?
No.
Is he going to come visit you?
He's in Toledo, and we're going to Cleveland. So, it's...
Cleveland rocks.
It'd be a 2-hour drive.
Okay. All right.
When you get to Cleveland, to go to Toledo.
You should go to Cleveaston.
Cleveaston. Yeah, we've been there.
Cleveaston. Wait a minute. Is that a real place? Seriously?
Yes.
It is to us.
Okay.
How many years ago was that?
You were dating Amanda. You weren't married to her.
Okay.
You got married April 18th, 2 years ago.
It was within...
I say it was 5 years ago. Austin wasn't married. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, probably 5 years ago. We decided to go on a little weekend.
I had a great last evening. Mm-hmm. It was very...
Is that where you guys went to Niagara Falls or whatever?
No.
That was years later.
Oh, yeah. Wait. That wasn't Niagara. I did have a good time. That's not sarcasm.
Yeah.
Cleveaston rocked.
Yeah, we actually went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And
you guys...
We just went up to go for like a weekend, a couple of days,
Okay.
Drank.
Was it where we stayed, or was it just a place that we visited?
We didn't want to stay at our hotel because
there wasn't really anything around.
There wasn't anything around. We didn't like it, so we went to AAA and I didn't go. Wendy,
we went to AAA to find some stuff to do.
I think it was Wendy and Amanda went in. So Austin, John,
I would have never been the guy going like, where do I go? Yeah. Let's go to AAA.
I think they wanted to do some shopping or something, or we wanted to just...
And then we listened to Mbop for about 5-10 minutes. Just blaring with the sunroof open.
Just because we wanted to embarrass the girls when they came out at AAA. We were going to be like outside of the car dancing with the windows down.
You can never have no shame.
Well, anyway, long story short.
Too late.
Yeah. Easton... which is around here, is like an open air mall, all these outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
They had a place just like it called Cleveland.
And
it was in Cleveland, but we said, man, this is just like Easton. So we decided it's in Easton and Cleveland. A Cleveaston.
And now every time you see a Dick's, you go, I love Dick's.
Yeah, Austin, my brother. There was a Dick's. Yeah, there was a Dick's Sporting Goods up there. And like, oh, look, they got everything up here. There's a movie theater. There's a Dick's. I love Dick's.
Yeah, Austin's just like, I love Dick's.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's good, man. Well, I hope you have fun. I hope you. Is it just a few days or
just for a day?
Oh, that's
we'll leave early and then come.
And I didn't poop any tea. Oh, we're talking about your.
That's Niagara Falls.
We're talking about your visit tomorrow.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Be careful though. You might poop tea or something. I doubtful. You're not Every once in a while, we have helicopter searches. That's how great D4KC is, how well protected we are.
Yeah.
So if you hear that's the helicopter searches. Yeah.
I asked for Evian. This is Natural Spring. Send it back.
Well done, DJ Meat. We got a great show in store for you tonight. We have Jerome Wetzel TV along with myself. And I believe, and I could be incorrect, I believe we have Barb from blogcritics.org or .net to talk to us about a number of things, including she is the author of the book Chasing Zebras, A Definite Guide to House from A to Z. And we'll be talking to her right after this break.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
Hey, you know what book I've not read in a while?
What?
Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. There's a few new ones I wouldn't mind having either.
I'm busy a lot of the time, too. Yeah, that's why I listen to audiobooks on my iPod Touch. It helps me stay in touch with the books I want to read and allow me to, fit in between the rest of my responsibilities. That's why for some of you listening to the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 14-day trial to give you a chance to check out their service.
I was able to sign up and get a free copy of one of my favorite books, Catch Me If You Can.
Hey, do they have Horton Hears a Who?
Let me check.
Yes, they do.
So if you'd like to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky.
What's that again for the free audiobook?
Again, that's www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky for your free audiobook.
Welcome out to the Jerome Wetzel TV segment of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. I'm your host, Jerome Wetzel TV, and with me, as always, is Nick Nitro, your regular host.
Hello.
And our guest host this week is the co-executive editor of blogcritics.org, Barbara Barnett.
Hi.
Well, welcome out to the show, Barbara. We're so very pleased to have you on the show, especially because I know you're a big fan of House, and I too am. I would say I'm not as big as a fan I would say as you, because I didn't write a book on it, by the way.
I did.
And what is that book called, by the way, so those out there can check out Amazon or check out GBG Podcast where this episode is posted, and check out our groovy link to easily assist them in their purchasing praise for this book?
The book is called Chasing Zebras, The Unofficial Guide to House M.D., and it is available on Amazon and everywhere else, and on iBooks and all kinds of other places too, but it's in paperback.
That's pretty cool that you got a book published about House. It's pretty phenomenal in my opinion.
And I can vouch for it. I read it and it was fantastic. So if you've ever been interested in anything about that show, I definitely recommend checking it out.
Well, what kind of cool stuff can be found for those possibly intrigued? What cool stuff can they find in the book for fans of House?
There's a chapter for every character, starting House on down, and there are chapters on the connection between Sherlock Holmes and House. I interviewed a Sherlock Holmes expert for that. I actually also interviewed a psychologist he and I sat down one morning over at Starbucks, and he diagnosed House for me. He had his DSM-4, which is the diagnostic book for all psychological disorders.
Wow.
And we sat down for almost 3 hours and chit-chatted what was actually wrong with House.
Oh, wow.
There's an episode-by-episode guide through the first 6 seasons of the show, because the book came out just before season 7, so through season 7, but it stops at the end of season 6. Very detailed, lots of fun trivia. There are chapters on the themes of the show, the ethics of the show, what ethics are explored. It's a big book. It's 429 pages long, so it's a very big book.
That's freaking epic and awesome, I'm going to say, because I want to read this book because I want to see what is wrong with House, because something's maybe a little off with the dude, even though he's a wonderful doctor, but he is diagnosable as something.
Well, I'm not loaning you my copy. You need to purchase one.
No, I don't want to. I want to buy it from Amazon. I'm totally serious. I think I've asked him this before, or maybe he's mentioned it casually. Are you thinking about doing a second edition of it, or you're trying to get a second edition made, or?
My publisher has said that if there's a demand for it, then we'll do a second book. And so that depends on people going out and buying it and say, we really like this book and we want to follow up. So So that's kind of where the publisher is with it, that if there's a demand for it, the publishing market right now for pretty much everything is pretty soft right now. But if there's a demand for it, there will be a second edition.
Well, I demand it.
I too demand it, and I am also going to demand that I empty my wallet to buy the first book in the process at Amazon. Again, there's a link for those listening on GBGpodcast.com under the show notes for this, so please check it out. And because I know I am. And but what other stuff, Barbara, do you do? I mean, because I know you run Blog Critics. What else do you have what other pies do you have your fingers in?
I am a freelance writer. I am actually going full-time freelancing as of July 1st. So, yes, I'm really excited about that. Blog Critics takes a fair amount of my time, but I actually have just written 2 chapters for a book on that's coming out next year, not my book, but someone else's book, on a completely different topic, which is spirituality and pregnancy. So I've just written 2 chapters for that, and I have a proposal for a new book, again, something completely different, and I can't really talk about it because it's still in. But that's also very exciting. It's more of a humor book, and so that should be a lot of fun. So I've got a lot of different projects. I do a lot of public speaking, and hope to have more time to do that as of July as well. So I'm hoping to be very, very busy with my writing and speaking in a couple months.
Well, is there a... sorry, go
ahead. If anyone wants a speaker or needs a writer, I am here, guys. So,
well, is there a website where they can easily get this information, or a Twitter handle they can reach you at so they can get this info?
Yes. My website is real easy to remember, barbarabarnett.com.
All right, and I'll feature a link for that on the show notes as well for those listening. If you want a quick check out, if you just want to easy click on link, I'll take care of that for you guys as well. Sorry, go ahead.
And my Twitter handle is B_Barnett.
Very cool. So, guys, if you want speaking engagements or a freelance writer, Barbara is the woman for you guys. And what do you do at Blog Critics? You actually are the editor-in-chief, correct? Or what?
Basically, we call ourselves, or they call us, Technorati Media publishes Blog Critics, and they call us I have a co-executive editor to Jon Sobel, and John and I are the co-executive editors, but we're the editors-in-chief essentially.
Oh wow, that's pretty bitchin', man. That's pretty awesome.
So we control it. No, we have a lot of headaches. No, just kidding.
You have to deal with stupid writers like myself.
No. If all of our writers were as good as Jerome Wetzel TV, whichever. But we have a bunch. We have several thousand writers, less active ones. And we're always looking, by the way, speaking of plugging, we're always looking for writers. If you like writing about TV, movies, music, books, restaurants, travel, theater, whatever politics, stop blogcritics.org and click on the Write for Blog Critics, and we'll put you through our system, and if you will give you a trial, and if you work out, you can be one of our writers. So we do that. I have a very active TV column as well. I write about House. I write about a couple other TV shows as well, and I write politics. So it's a busy life over at Blog Critics.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we actually have you on the show with us on Jerome Wetzel TV, is that Jimmy, that was one of the first things Jimmy said when I was like, I'm thinking about giving you a segment on the Good, the Bad, and Geeky, where it's all you and TV for the most part. And he's like, well, we got to get Barbara from Blog Critics on there. He's very adamant about that. And I was like, yes, let's do it.
And we've just been delayed because of the Christmas break and everything.
Yeah, we wanted to get you in before the Christmas show, and because there was a number of factors really weird. And again, those individuals could not control that because they're very busy, Hollywood people.
So the long-awaited.
I'm not going to do a name drop.
Guess spot.
Yeah, but it ended up working out anyway. And again, we've had this plan for a while, so it's so great to have you on the show, Barbara.
I am delighted to be here.
But one of the things that we know, at least I know, that you write about a lot about is House and Once Upon a Time. One of the things that we would be hoping to talk about, and a few other things. But Jimmy, yes. I keep stepping all over you on this, buddy, and this is your segment.
This is your podcast.
Well, it's my podcast, but this is your segment. See, I'm trying to. I'll let you take over from now. I was just wanting to make sure we got Barbara situated, resting comfortably with a cup of Joe or whatever her choice of fine beverage is.
Load up your stuff so we didn't forget to do it later.
Exactly. And but I will let you now take the helm, good sir.
Okay, well, I guess since she's the House expert, we should probably talk about House. This being the final season and everything.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what did you? I mean, I guess was this a surprise to you that this was the final season, or?
People have been asking me about whether this is going to be the final season probably since last May. And I actually started asking the question myself. In fact, I spoke, the end of last season, I interviewed Garrett Lerner and Russell Friend, who are executive producers on the show, and I also interviewed Peter Blake and Kath Lingenfelter, who wrote the finale last year, and I said, is this season 8 going to be the final season? And they didn't know. Everyone was sort of, well, we kind of have to know this fairly early on, because if we don't know, we want to give House a really good send-off if this is going to be the final season. So no one really knew. I suspect that a lot of them suspected. I sort of suspected. I knew that this was Hugh Laurie's last year on his contract. I knew David Shore's last year on his contract. So I kind of had a sneaking suspicion, although when people would ask me, I would say, well, I'm not sure, because I didn't want to be on the record.
Of course.
Do you feel like this last season's been pretty strong in terms of completing the arc of the character and where he's grown and where he's going to finish up?
I think it has been to a certain extent. One of the things that I think has been, did I just write this? I just said this to someone. I think one of the things that I felt is lacking, has been lacking. I mean, I've liked this season a lot, and my columns reflect that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I think has been lacking is that we aren't seeing things draw to a close. Now, I do know, because I do speak to the writers, and I just did an interview a couple months ago with Kathleen Lingenfelter, and she said the final sequence, particularly the final 5 episodes, are going to be very serialized. So think of it as a mini-series. That's my words, not, a mini-series to end the season. So I think they're going to draw everything to a close. One of the things I think has been I've been a little disappointed in is that House has not been very engaged with his patients much for the last couple seasons. He's relying on his fellows a lot.
Right.
And I really miss those great one-on-one discussions with his patients a lot. And I think it really adds depth to the character. So he comes off sometimes as kind of shallow and I don't really care about anybody. So I'm really hopefully looking forward to seeing more of that. And I've seen a teaser for Monday's episode, and we do have a one-on-one with a patient. Yay!
Oh,
cool.
Wow. Very nice. Well, one of the things that you mentioned that's featured in your book, Chasing Zebras, was, and it's something that David Shore has never really shied away from, which is the connection between Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Gregory House. And one of my questions is, especially since Sherlock Holmes has been featured heavily a lot in the media thanks to the BBC series, or Masterpiece for here in the U.S.
And CBS's upcoming series, and the Robert Downey Jr. movies.
Exactly. So Sherlock's been a lot on the brain heavily, but under the Sherlock license. And everyone knows that Sherlock's number one, I guess, enemy has been Moriarty. And for House, how does that apply? Was that ever something that David Shore, obviously, would it be something very medical, or would it be something else? I mean, how does Moriarty fit in the scheme of House? And is it lupus? Is that sort of the joke that lupus, because you can never really guess what it is, that's Moriarty, or is Moriarty, or, because I guess the thing is, when I was reading Deadline, I read Deadline by Nikki Fink a lot, and the thing with House was a lot of people thought that either we might get one more season or this would be the final one, but Shore kept giving the impression, well, like any good showrunner probably should, that he wanted to really, as you were saying, do a proper send-off. Did that have to tie in with possibly creating a Moriarty character to send in last minute, or... That's a very loaded question, by the way. Sorry.
No. I've always felt that the Moriarty of the show has been disease. House has been a tireless warrior against disease, and it's funny because in talking to some of the people with the show, and actually talking to Jennifer Morrison a couple of seasons ago, back in season 5. And I had actually a long conversation with her, not about Moriarty, but disease, and how House can't heal himself. Right? He's broken. He's wounded. His leg is bad, and it's never going to get better. He's broken, but he can't heal himself. So he's always battling disease or an illness, and to me, that's his Moriarty.
Interesting. I never thought of that way before.
Yeah, I mean, and I describe him in the book. Somewhere in the book, I talk about, I think it was for the episode All In. And I actually wrote an essay that went along with that episode that talks about House and his Don Quixote-ish tilting at windmills against death. And how he never gives up. That's where his drive, that's really his raison d'etre. That's really what drives him, is to fight against his patients dying. And so to me, that's his Moriarty. I mean, people can say, well, sort of Foreman could be his Moriarty, or, Tritter back in season 3, people who come in, and I don't really think so. I think that House's Moriarty is his patient's death and disease.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Foreman reminds me more of the Constable, more or less. Same thing with Cuddy. She would always...
Lestrade.
Yeah, Lestrade, thank you. He was always... They were just there nipping at his heels, making sure he seems to fall in line, but they still let him do pretty much whatever he does, because he gets the job done. So, now, how do you feel about Lisa not coming back? I'm... Yeah, because I thought if anything, she would at least come back for maybe a little cameo, but they're reporting no. Osceola is saying no. She's not even showing up. I mean, was it really a problem with David Shore, or was it just all money, or, I mean, from what you've heard?
I haven't heard much. It was funny because when she was not, when it was out that when Michael Osceola broke that she wasn't coming back, I didn't know. I had been in a doctor's appointment, and I come out and I had 8 phone messages. And I called, one of them was for the publisher of Blog Critics. And I called back, and they said, hey, do you know Michael Osceola is quoting you? And I was like, what? Why would he be? And I had just 3 days earlier published an interview I had just done with Katie Jacobs, which was her only interview that year. And she was talking about Lisa a lot in the interview, and we were talking a great deal about her. And so that's how I found out she was leaving in the first place. But as far as coming back, I mean, I'm not sure what her purpose would be in coming back at this point. Would I love to see her in a cameo in the finale? Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see all of House's old ghosts come back in one way or another. But I'm not uncomfortable with her not coming back. It would be nice, but I'm not sure what function she would have. They're not going to get back together.
No, but do you think that's really angered a lot of the people that are shippers that basically watch the show for the relationship? Is that kind of the final season for them?
Yeah, well, it did, and I've actually taken a lot of heat for that because people have kind of pegged me over the years as a Huddy shipper. And, I've always said, well, in the House Wilson shippers, the Hilson shippers have always come down really hard on me, and the Hammerins have come down on me, and I've always contended I watch House for House, and I'm going to go where the writers of the show are going to take me. That's the way I enjoy the show. and he's going to have relationships that are going to ebb and, So I loved him with Cuddy. I was completely there. I was 100% there. I hated that they broke them up. I wouldn't say I wasn't unhappy. I really accept that they broke them up. It was inevitable. They were going to do that. I don't like a couple of the things that happened just after it. But after the end of, and I didn't like the end of season 7. I just did not like the house crashing his car into her house thing.
I don't think anybody did.
Well, I thought it was. I thought it was very in character with House would do, because if he was that. But granted, because the thing is, he's very self-destructive. So I thought, what was the most self-destructive thing you could do? Is run a car through her fucking house. And did I like it? No, because I'm like, he's going to go to jail for this, and how are the writers going to work around this? And then, because then Cuddy's going to have to keep him around, and then next season Cuddy wasn't back, and they wrote around it, and you're just like, oh. Yeah.
Well, with the car stunt, I mean, that worked out really well with Cuddy not returning, because there's got to be that final straw that sends her off. But I feel like with her gone, there's no chance of House having a happy ending romantically. And because of his self-destructive tendencies, do you think this points towards a total crash and burn in the finale, or do you think he'll be able to find some sort of peace?
It's funny, because I thought this season would bring more crash and burn than it has.
Me too.
And I've made no bones about this. I'm really an angst whore. I mean, I love the angst, and I made no bones about it. I'm not apologetic about that at all. And I think that's something that I would have thought, and I wrote about this over the summer, and I said, Cuddy's not going to be there, but she's going to be there sort of hovering over the cloud that's always over House. But House hasn't really been under a cloud this year.
Do you think he may still, before the end, like that? That would have to play into it, I would think.
Yeah, I would think. On the other hand, they don't necessarily have to do that. They could do what they want. Because they're the... It's not our show.
It's not? Since when?
It's not our show. And I keep saying that to people. It's like, they have the right to do whatever they want with the characters. If they were going to write to us, and write for us as the viewers, there are so many different points of view, they couldn't win. So, I really accepted her going away. But what I really do regret is her not coming back this season as a character. And that was coincidence. I mean, it was a terrible set of coincidences that happened. A, they wrote this episode, followed by B, Lisa Edelstein is leaving the series. And there was no way to bring her back for closure. So I sort of thought that she would sort of be hovering there. And I was really hoping that she'd come back for a cameo at some point. But I don't think she is. And, Osceola or not, I mean, the series pulls these left turns all the time and surprises us. But I don't think she's going to come back. And to answer your question, Jerome, or Jim, or Uromi.
Whatever.
Now I know. Whether he's got a chance of happiness, and people are going to shoot me for this. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, to coin a phrase, to quote my favorite movie, Casablanca, he may find happiness with Dominica.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them together this season. Yeah. The last couple episodes, it's really worked.
Wouldn't that be like totally classic, where you have like the green card bride, totally a marriage of convenience, that slowly, and we won't have the luxury of a whole nother season to see that happen, and it would be kind of happy. But, I mean, going back to, like the 60s TV series, The Farmer's Daughter, I mean, it's classic movies and TV.
And from a story-wise point of view, I mean, it could be said that a lot of House's improvement in the last couple of years could be attributed, especially last season. He really seemed to be doing well with Cuddy. And so perhaps if she had been the one to save him, it would have been a little cheapened. Like he had help getting to his piece. Whereas now, if he finds a balance and a healthy lifestyle, he's done it on his own. He hasn't been pushed there out of love or something.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah, I was really upset about Cuddy, too, but as the season's gone on, I have really enjoyed this season. And,
yeah, me too.
And I do feel like I've kind of made my peace with it, you know, and like you said, it's not our show, and they've done a heck of a job for 8 years, so to start griping at this late hour seems pretty petty and ungrateful.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, I have actually quite a number of internet friends who simply stopped watching the series. They just said, you know what, I've had it. I was in there for the Huddy, and I'm done. But the funny thing is, a lot of those guys were there before there was Huddy. They were there through Stacy. They were there through Cameron. They were there through all of that, and abandoned the show just because they're
so close to the end. I just don't understand that at all. You put in 7 years or whatever of watching.
Well, the people that I've seen on Twitter that abandoned the show, because Twitter is where I see all the interaction from, is a lot of people were pissed off on the treatment of Lisa. And I'm just like, and that's what pissed me. I was like, look, we have no idea what actually went on, and we probably never really will until there's a tell-all book about right before she dies, or
and even then you don't know how much that's true.
And again, exactly, because truth is all a matter of perspective to the person. Like Jimmy and I have, matter of fact, last night we were hanging out at some party, and my memory of something was completely devoid of he's like, will you help me with that? And I'm like, really? I did. I thought that was all. He was like, no, you told me to put it in there. I'm like, talking about mixing a drink. I had no idea this happened in a party that we had. That's what I'm saying. It's all a matter of perspective of who remembers what, and combined you can make them an actual truth. But, you know, I don't know. I think it pisses me off that people get mad over that. It's like, look, whatever happened.
Right.
Let the show be the show, and then judge it on that. Don't.
And you know, as much as we love these characters and love the actors that play them, it's a business for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers did not work for her. And a lot of that had to do with Fox and their demand that the licensing fee be cut. And I believe, and I read, and that might have been in Nikki Fink's column, that they wanted yet further cuts this year, and that was a problem. And, you know, Robert Sean Leonard is in fewer episodes this year. Omar Epps is in fewer episodes this year. Lisa said no, and good for her for standing her ground, but it's not the right fault. Not Cher's fault. She walked.
No, right. And well, I think that's what I'm saying. That's what made me mad. People were blaming, they were saying he is the real Gregory House and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whoa. No. He's, in terms of how he acts and how he's sort of cruel to people. And I'm like, I've never heard that at all. I've heard like he's a very analytical individual, but again, you're blasting a man you really have no contact with except for what you read on, again, right. Nikki Fink or Osceola. And, you know, as someone who reads that stuff all the time too, and obviously we all report on it occasionally too when we do the podcast or do our articles or reviews. I just don't agree with that. There's one girl who's a follower that follows me, and she's a very polite girl, but anytime House comes on, she doesn't watch anymore, but all she does is for a straight hour is just blast the fuck out of House. And I'm just like, I don't understand why she does. I mean, I guess I don't know. Again, that's her perspective on it, but I just don't agree with it. And I know there's other people that I've seen out there that they're upset with that.
Now, you brought up the budget aspect, too, and this is something that's been thrown around a lot as ratings continue to sag.
This is on any show.
Right, and many series that have been on for a while can't keep the budget. Well, even like Cougar Town Community, because Bill Lawrence is a friend of this podcast that's been on a bunch of times. You know, do you think there's any hope of Kickstarter or some internet website where fans in the future might kick in money to help fill up those budget gaps, not pay for the series completely? I think that seems unrealistic. But do you think there might be a good business sense, a good way to help shows have fans put a little of their own income into it?
Kickstarter is great. In fact, it's funny that you should mention it. I know that Jane Espenson, who's a writer on Once Upon a Time, and she wrote on Game of Thrones last season, and she's famous for writing Buffy and Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Torchwood. Yes. Last season, she did quite a few.
She did Torchwood last
season? She did some Miracle Day.
I did not know that. I'll have to. Yeah, well, I'm stuck at season 1 of Torchwood. I feel very dirty about, or season 2. I'm sorry, but because I'm.
Season 2 is great.
I loved season. I loved all of it. I remember when I first started watching it, Jerome, you had said, "Oh yeah, season 2." And I really, really liked season 3 as well. It was very dark. I liked my sci-fi. But Jane, now I lost my train of thought. Jane, Jane has a web series that was real successful last season called Husbands.
Husbandstheseries.com.
Mm-hmm. I was going to add that, Husbands the Series. And it's a great series. It's a marriage equality series. And it's these 2-minute webisodes. And they want to do a second season, and it's going to happen. And they used Kickstarter to fund it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I was contributor 615. I donated $6.15.
And Jane, if you're listening to this, you should note very well that was Jerome Wetzel TV, who is contributor number 615.
She knows. She replied to me on Twitter about it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
And I actually, Bria Grant, who was an actress in Heroes, because her and Jane were kind of talking on Twitter, and I started talking to Bria Grant a little bit, too, because she's got a movie that's on Kickstarter that I also put in a little bit of money, because I'm poor, but I just put a little bit. But she had suggested, because I'm working on a project that I could use some funding for, and Bria said that, even for the normal people, even if you're not famous, Kickstarter might be a really good way to go to get some funding.
My son is using Kickstarter he's trying to start a college radio station that's internet only.
Nice.
Called Pizza FM, and we're thinking of using Kickstarter in addition to the usual ways of raising licensing fees. So Kickstarter is prevalent. Whether it's going to be used for something that's as costly as a network TV, where the cost,
I don't think it could pay for a whole network TV show, but maybe as the show ages to fill in the budget gaps, like if they had a Kickstarter page, raise this much money to keep Lisa Edelstein on House. Do you think something like that could be successful?
That's a lot of money. If you think about TV, like $2 million an episode to produce, and they want like $2 million an episode.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I have no. I was like, who did I hear say that? God, I can't remember who I heard say that about. I think it was Stargate Universe at one point, and I could be wrong. But if you think about all of the salaries and all of, usually in a production like that, the salaries, it's a decent sized cast. You've got directors, you've got writers. And the production values of the series are huge. And I'm talking about House now. I'm not talking about sci-fi. It's big bucks. When Hugh Laurie gets $500,000 an episode, or whatever. Just him alone. So, and I don't know if it's $500,000, whatever he gets.
Sure.
And then add that to everyone else. That's real. It's not very far jump to make it to that $2 million.
That is true. I guess you're right. In terms of, I wasn't including the cast in terms of an overall episode, but yeah, because I'm looking at them as a whole set. It's part of the show, but part of it as a separate budget thing. But no, you're right. In terms of per episode, it would cost about $2 million.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's any chance of raising in the millions on a consistent basis.
Right.
Husbands can raise $50,000, but.
If you're talking about a licensing fee cut of like 20%, I don't know if that works out to in dollars because I'm not very good at arithmetic. But you heard it here first, guys. I am no mathematician.
I was doing a story on it right now.
I studied biology and chemistry in college as an undergrad, and it's like that's why I never became like a really great chemist. So, Just can't. So I became a writer. But it's a great idea, and I think to fill in small gaps, I think that's possible, but I'm not sure how realistic it is, at least at this point in time. Maybe in 5 years' time, or, as Kickstarter becomes much more viral.
Well, we need something besides Nielsen. When are they going to get over the Nielsen ratings? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because, you've got Nielsen and then you've got the Nielsen, everyone looks at the Nielsen overnights. Well, the overnights don't really tell the story. You have to look at the Nielsen plus ones, and then you have to look at the Nielsen plus sevens, which then looks at, the overnights plus whether anyone DVR'd it and looked at it in a week. But then not everybody watches things on TV. They watch things on Amazon or iTunes or Hulu, or Netflix. And, those numbers have to become more and more significant. I had a conversation last year with Bob Seidman from TV by the Numbers, and I did an article about it, and it boggles the mind. But the Nielsen's are really out of date.
Well, and like Bill Lawrence has talked about on this podcast, about how Spin City used to get huge ratings, but he never hears from Spin City fans or meets people that say they watch Spin City, whereas Scrubs really struggled in the ratings, but there are still tons of vocal Scrubs fans out there.
And both shows are on syndication right now.
So I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, even in the days before internet and stuff, that these Nielsen households, this small sampling, really makes these decisions for all of us. I mean, if they could measure fan activity online in some kind of metric, and I'm sure they can. I'm sure Google's got some metric to tell you what the search rankings are. That should count. I mean, shows like Community wouldn't be struggling so bad if that was Fringe, Chuck when it was on. I think take this stuff into account. I think it would really help a lot of networks, because if they're providing those types of shows, that helps their brand so much. I mean, if we know that NBC is the one with giving the good series a chance to go on, people talk about NBC. You know what I mean?
Well, but at the same time, here's the problem with this, and I as a fan, I disagree, but it's a business. And so it's like right now, the big thing with Fringe is it's probably coming down to licensing fees. Again, as Barbara said, we don't know exactly what the fees entail for licensing the show. And licensing the shows for syndication, the way I understand, and also because Warner Brothers produces Fringe, just like I think Universal or NBC produces House to air on Fox. So it's a licensing fee to have the show on there. And usually Fox will lower the licensing fee, or not Fox, but the company lowers the licensing fee so they can keep the show going on longer. And that's a big thing, is that's how some shows come back for one extra season. That's where they make the biggest budget cut, or they cut down on like maybe all but like 3 writers, or that's Futurama. Right. They didn't want to lose the voice cast, because really without Futurama, if you don't have the voice cast, I mean,
you got nothing.
You really do got nothing. And so they literally, I think only like they have like a full writers room of like 20 writers. It's like 4 or 5 guys that write the show now for the most part, and they do the typical. They bring, I think, because I've heard other writers talk about this too, where they do a union rule where they have to bring 1 writer in and write 1 or 2 episodes, but they do that still. But they still, beyond that, they keep it very small. And all them. And
they can hire me. I'll go write for whatever show wants to hire me.
Yeah, well, but I'm sure you'd have budget limitations of what you at least need to make per.
It would be lower than most, I'm sure.
Probably, but either way, but that's the big thing, is that it's a business decision, and I hate saying that, but it's very much true.
I wish.
I know that Simpsons, in order to get this season out of The Simpsons, everybody took a pay cut. I mean, they all pay cut in order to make the licensing fee arrangement make sense.
I know, but can I just say with that though, is that, you know, it's like well, it depends on your thoughts on it. American Idol, we have enough American Idols. Don't we have enough Simpsons? Can we just go back to the movies?
Well, and here's as seasons go on, actors tend to get paid more and more, and that's what kills a lot of shows in the end. The cast salaries become so much. But in a situation like The Simpsons, I think these people should be grateful for all the years it's given them and start taking cuts as the years go on instead of raises.
I agree.
Yes, and I think that's what they decided.
Yeah. But if they want to keep it on for another 5-10 years, they're going to have to take more cuts than just this one, you know?
And then you have a show, and I'm on my Stargate soapbox, because I didn't like Stargate. I didn't like SG-1. I didn't like SG-1. I didn't like Atlantis. I liked the movie, but I didn't like either of those two, and I loved Stargate Universe. And I have to say I was a latecomer to it, so I wasn't there when it got canceled. But they canceled it after 2 seasons, kind of like they didn't give Caprica really much of a chance, because the Nielsen numbers sell below 2 million per week, but I don't think that takes into account all the other ways to see the show. So there was this magic Nielsen number of 2 million, and it was always kind of hovering there, and so had Battlestar. And SGU was placed to take over for Battlestar. And when it couldn't hold up that over 2 million viewers, got canceled after 2 seasons. Should canceled after 2 seasons.
I thought Caprica was brilliant, and I'm still mourning it. And then I understood that some people complained it had less of the action and stuff that Galactica had. So they were going to make... Right, but then... So they decided to abandon Caprica, but they were going to go ahead and make another Galactica spinoff set 10 years after Caprica. And so that was kind of my consolation that, well, at least some version of Galactica is going to be on there. And now, just this past week, they announced it's just the TV movie. They're not picking it up the series. Well, and I mean, Galactica was so good. It's the best thing Sci-Fi's made, I feel, but I haven't seen Universe. And now they're not going to do any more. I mean,
no, take heart in the fact, Jimmy, that Battlestar Galactica started off as a TV movie.
I know.
Well, take heart in that, my friend. Maybe that's what they're.
But that's what this was too. But they didn't pick it up the series. It's just going to be a TV movie.
They did announce they're not picking it up.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it hadn't aired yet.
No, it hasn't aired yet. But they announced they're not picking it up. The series.
Wait until
they don't do that. They don't do that. Caprica got picked up the series before the.
Well, that's because
TV
Battlestar
series
was such a massive hit.
It wasn't a hit though. That's why it got canceled.
I'm talking about Battlestar Galactica was a massive hit.
No,
for the network it was.
I don't. Not rating wise.
No, not rating wise. It was really hovering. If you look at the ratings, because I did this, I went and I looked because I was curious. Because I was kind of like bummed about the SGU thing, and so I went back and I looked at Galactica's ratings, which were a little bit above 2 million, and it dipped and it went up and it went down, and it really wasn't a hit. It was a hit with sci-fi people.
And with critics, and
that's what I'm saying. It's a hit for
It had a cult following.
If it was on network television, they would have been canceled in the first season. Well, it's like Psych. Remember they did the Monk test, because Monk initially started on ABC before it moved officially to USA, or did they do like both the same thing?
I don't remember.
And then they tried doing it with Psych, and I remember Psych got horrible numbers, and I'm just like, well, of course because it's on freaking NBC. It's not. It's not an NBC show. I don't know.
Was it CBS that tried to air Dexter, but they cut out all the good stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying though. I mean, in terms of Sci-Fi, it was a modest hit, which means they could justify it business wise for Sci-Fi keeping it on. Now again, if another network, probably not. But it's like the CW. Right. Worst shows have horrible ratings, but for CW, they're fantastic ratings. That's why Vampire Diaries is coming back for like 3 more years.
Yeah, I like Vampire Diaries though.
I'm giving Jimmy shit for this. He knows that, but actually, I started the first season. I'm like 4 episodes in. It's not my cup of tea, but it's not horrible either. I will go on record and say that.
I just wish creativity mattered some in this metric, and rather than just the stupid.
Oh, the artist's cry. I mean, I understand it.
You know, it's interesting, and getting back to Sci-Fi a second, Sci-Fi as a network has become like almost like a graveyard, because and my husband will like laugh because I'm like a disaster person. I love disaster movies. I love disaster movies. I will sit there and watch disaster movies all day long on Sci-Fi, and they're so bad. I mean, I'm going to write a parody of a Sci-Fi movie of and Sci-Fi one of these days.
Aren't movies kind of parodies already?
Well, they are, but there's a way to turn it around and to really make it sharp satire instead of parody.
Yeah.
Like Mega Shark versus Mega Octopus.
Yeah, right. Something like that. But Sci-Fi Network has sort of, and I've had actually conversations, I can't say with whom, but I've had conversations with some Hollywood writer people, and more than one, who've said, you know, it's a lot cheaper to produce a show like Ghost Hunters than it is to produce a drama. Yeah. And I think that's true on any network. And what's really becoming kind of like the sci-fi, what sci-fi could be and used to be, is science, right? Which is airing. They've aired all of the Firefly episodes and all that, and they've actually been airing science fiction drama, not necessarily original stuff, but they could be airing some more original stuff. So anyway, that's just my 2 pennies on sci-fi. Not my favorite.
I mean, they've had some good original series, but like I just read that their most popular current running original series is Warehouse 13, and I like Warehouse 13, but you know it's nowhere near the level of Galactica or Caprica in terms of quality.
Like I'm not a big fan of Battlestar, but I will say that it really stuck to its guns with what it was trying to do, with the story it was trying to tell, and it was very deep and philosophical at its heart. And even though I didn't appreciate what the philosophy was trying to get at, I respected it a whole lot more than some of the shows on there that they have on there now. Like Alphas. Like Alphas was a show by every definition as a comic book fan. It's practically a cheap version of X-Men on television, or what Heroes was trying to be, but then failed at. And I'm just like, you know what? Awesome. And it has I can remember the guy's name, but he's the Professor X guy.
David Stradle.
Yes, I love that guy. He is so... Matter of fact, he did a movie with Robert Sean Leonard called In the Gloaming. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen that, Barbara? Yes, fantastic. Matter of fact, that's how I began to realize who he was, is because HBO did a movie, and he was the dad, and it was an amazing performance. And so every time he shows up in a movie, I'm like, oh, yeah. And then Alphas was just so bad.
David Strathairn he was in John Sayles' Stable. He was in, oh my God, what's the name of the movie? He was in a ton of John Sayles movies. The one about the White Sox of 1919.
The one with John Cusack, right?
8 Men Out.
Yeah.
Right, he played Eddie Chicote, the pitcher. And he was in... Matewan, and he's been in a ton of stuff. He actually did a TV series called The Days and Nights of Molly Dodd back in the 80s, I think. I love David Strathairn. I will watch anything with him in it because he's just such a great, intense actor.
I know.
And I loved watching Alphas. And I liked his character. He was a Professor X character.
Yeah. And well, I watched the first 2 episodes. Actually, I watched the first 2 and like 20 minutes of the third, and then I was just got turned. It wasn't what I was wanting it to be, and then I watched the finale just so I could, because I'll do that. And the show was a little bit better in the finale than when I left it off at, because I don't know, I felt like they had too many hands in too many things, and they set them up as a certain type of character. And again, this happens in all shows. The pilot is always very different than what the second episode is. It's like they're regaining footing a bit. And I just didn't like how they regained him. Because I'm always under the impression, even if you don't like a character, or they're the anti-hero, you gotta root for the hero. Like House has something about him that he wants to save the people, even though he doesn't care about them. He wants to save the patient. Yeah, like Tony Soprano. But that's one of the reasons why Mad Men, it literally took me about a year to watch the first season of Mad Men. Someone let me borrow it, and I watched the first episode. And I thought, I can connect with Peggy Olson. She does like 20. Again, that's what human beings do. But I just so wasn't used to it that I'm like, I don't like this. I can't root for anybody. They're all douchebags. And well, no, they really are. Like I still watch Mad Men now. I'm like, oh, Don Draper, you douchebag, you cheating on your wife.
But now he's married to Zuby Zoo.
Don't tell me that. I'm not that far. I've actually stayed away from spoilers. God damn it, Jimmy.
That's not the character's name. There was just a scene where a character was singing Zuby Zuby Zoo and in the season premiere last week. And it really blew up the Twitterverse. Everybody talking about that musical number.
Well, I stayed away from Twitter that night.
Good.
Well, yeah, because oh, man.
No, I won't tell you who it is, but
thank you. Well, no, he marries someone.
Yeah.
God, Jimmy.
Oh, Don Draper's not the type to stay single.
Well, I knew.
He's got somebody to take care of him and his kids.
I said this last night, but it's true. I'm watching Mad Men now when I go to the gym and work out, and so I'm always cycling. That's my main form of working out, and when I watch it, I'll watch 3 episodes at home on Netflix before I go to the gym, and there's no sex in them at all. The one episode I watch at the gym, the next episode, Don Draper's getting naked with the chick, or just weird stuff.
At least it's AMC and not Showtime.
AMC. So. I know, and I'm thankful for that. But like the one where they take them to like a strip joint, and like it's like because even I'm going like, wow, they just show the pasties, and I'm just going, gee. And there's this old lady right next to me, bless you, Jimmy, who goes. Who she gave me even the first like, oh, I never. Well, I'm trying to, and so then what do? Do I just like lean forward on the cycle and try to cover it up? But then like that draws attention to the fact that maybe you're watching something you shouldn't be watching.
I've been trying to watch Californication at my parents' house this week.
Oh, that's very bad.
And
too.
It's horrible because every time they walk past, there's somebody naked.
Or there's someone cussing up a storm.
Yeah, F word gets dropped a lot. Before we run out of time, though, we should get on to Barbara's other show that she's now covering every week, and I don't know, maybe becoming an expert person on like she's on House in time. I don't know. Once Upon a Time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
I feel like that show, Nick and I both agreed we didn't like the first couple episodes at all. Like, thought it was pretty bad. But I feel like that show deserves the most improved award this season because it's really become something awesome, like even before Christmas.
Yes. You know, I started watching it because I was curious. Jen Morrison stars in it, who played Cameron on House, so I had that House connection. And I thought, well, maybe I'll cover it. And I really, that was the start of my new TV love affair. My new TV boyfriend, who's Robert Carlyle. And I saw him in that first episode, and he's like the weirdest character ever, right? He plays Rumpelstiltskin. And I said, this is really interesting. And I also like Lana Parrilla.
Oh, yeah, she's good.
Yeah. I'd seen her in a show called Miami Medical that lasted for 5 weeks or so that co-starred Jeremy Northam, who's a favorite actor of mine. There's a theme you might notice. I have like this thing for British actors, and Jeremy Northam is very British. And so I started watching Once Upon a Time, and it's actually, like you said, the first couple of episodes, I liked the pilot a lot. I didn't like the second episode as much. It really began to kick into high gear, I thought, as we got to Thanksgiving weekend, and it really hasn't let up since then. It's really been quite strong. This week, Barbara Hershey is guest starring. I haven't seen the episode yet. I have to see it with everyone else.
Well, by the time this podcast goes live, people will have already seen it, unfortunately, the way we structure things.
Yeah, this is going live April 3rd.
Okay, so everybody who saw it, it was a great episode, right?
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
I loved it. Didn't you like that part with Barbara Hershey?
I like
and
that
Lana
part.
Parrilla was really evil.
Yeah, it's evil. You know, evil backwards spells love.
No, it doesn't.
I've seen some of the, because they have some clips on the press site, and I've seen a couple of the clips. I saw a clip with the Evil Queen, and boy, ooh, she's evil. But we're going to find out, you will have already found out, what it is that the Evil Queen has against Snow White. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm also looking forward to see the trial of Snow White.
Yeah, I mean, they've done some really unexpected things. Like in the fairy tale world, making Snow White this badass with the bow trying to kill the queen, and making Little Red a werewolf, and just like some really unexpected twists to stories. I mean, I love the whole Grumpy falling in love with the fairy story, and
love that. They're just really inventive, interesting mashups.
And making Rumpelstiltskin the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. That's got to be my favorite episode so far.
Oh, that I'm gonna put money on a couple of Emmy nominations coming out of that.
Yeah, if Robert Carlyle gets nominated, that's the episode. I shouldn't say if, he needs to be. That's the episode he should submit. Unless I haven't seen the end of the season yet, so there could be something even better. But
yeah, there's more stuff with him coming up. After tonight's episode, well, they're going to be on hiatus for a couple of weeks, and I think coming back on April 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, with another Rumpelstiltskin episode where his son. We find out what happened to his son, Balefire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's supposed to be a very, he was tweeting, by the way, he's on Twitter now. Never thought he'd be on Twitter, but he's on Twitter. And he just struck me as just not a Twitter type person, and he hadn't been. But I guess someone was impersonating him, and I guess he took umbrage at that.
If somebody's going to tweet about what they ate for lunch, it's going to be the real me.
Yes, right.
Skippy. Damn Skippy.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I just said damn Skippy. Yeah.
I think I might make a false Barbara Barnett Twitter account and see what I could do with it.
Oh, no. People would actually...
And I'll try to get it verified.
Oh, my God.
Oh. I'm not anywhere important enough to be verified.
But isn't that... I mean... What you said, though, like, I always find that sort of funny. It's like, I'm not important enough to be verified that I really need...
Was it Rob Corddry who actively does not want to be verified and takes pride in the fact that he's not verified on Twitter?
There's a few people who are verified, they're not verified.
You know. But, so I think that episode is going to get an Emmy nomination or two. I hope it gets a writing nomination for Jane Espenson, because it is a beautifully complex and very, very inventive way of telling that story. So, and of the Beauty and the Beast story.
Now, how long do you think they're going to stretch out the curse? Do you think they may, by the end of season 1, the various townspeople will start to really wake up to the fact that there's a curse, or do you think this is going to be something that takes the whole series to start to try to break?
Well, they've already started remembering. I mean, Prince Charming has already started remembering.
I kind of feel like the Prince Charming selective memory, though, has to be some plot by the evil queen.
Yeah, it could be, because he remembered Snow White saying that I want to kill her, and she meant the queen.
Right. And that just seems so selective and so specific.
Right, and he's remembering it as being Catherine.
Right.
So, you know, and by the way, I'm really not liking David, who's Prince Charming in Storybrooke. Boy, you know, he of little faith.
Yeah.
I did not like that. Was a real surprise to me.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was. But how long will they keep the curse going? I mean, the curse has to keep going, because if they all go back to Fairy Tale Land, which would be if the curse ended, they would all go back to Fairy Tale Land, and they can't really do.
But this whole first season, I mean, there's very few characters, and it's a lot of the theme of not a lot of plots, but about Henry trying to wake Emma up to the fact that there is a curse. I mean, if she becomes aware and accepts that by the end of season 1, then season 2 could be a whole other story about her trying to wake up other people to it. And by season 3, they could be trying to break it. I mean, even if they learn about the curse, do you think the curse is still going to be this secret thing that hangs over, or do you think there's going to be development with that? That there'll be movement to try to start breaking it in the next year or two?
Yeah, I think that, you know, the curse itself might become known, but how do you break it?
Right.
How is it broken? And they may not, it may be out of everyone's, it may be even out of the Queen's control.
I just saw something very funny, and also a little, or at least it's funny to me, is that what if, because their guys wrote a Lost, what if the third season ends with them saying the curse has already been broken, it's been broken for years, but no one just remembers anything.
I think the smoke monster's probably going to come to town.
Not the smoke monster, but like had it be like Emma's like, we need to go back to Storyland.
Yeah, they break the curse and they get to Storyland, and then they realize they have to get back to the real world.
Exactly, like that's when because it is like two of the writers, aren't they, from Lost, I believe?
It does have some Lost people. So, that would be pretty funny.
Well, I'm just jokingly saying.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
there's some interesting possibilities. I mean, yeah, they can find out the curse. I don't think that that's the climax of the series. I think it's how do you break it. Now, the curse belongs to Rumpelstiltskin. He is the one that gave it to the queen.
Uh-huh. Well, I want at least one season with the curse broken and everybody back in Fairy Tale World. I think that could be, they could do a lot with that. I don't think that's necessarily the end of the story.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think you're right. But I think that what will happen is, I think just like Lost, it will have a definite ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz do have that planned in their brain somewhere. They just may not be saying it to anyone. But I think
they're making the wise move, which is not what Damon and Carlton did, which is, yes, we know exactly what, and they're just like, oh, maybe not. But so, yeah, the fact that they're keeping it to themselves, they're not really publicizing it.
Plus keeping it to yourself allows you to change direction if you have a better idea down the road.
Exactly,
without taking
because you can have an ending as a writer, have an ending for something that you're writing. Like even writing an article for a review, if you're going down one theme you're going to tackle, and then it leads into another theme that ends up taking more of the review or whatever. So yeah, it can change over time. So the fact that they're not coming right out like their mentors, I guess, maybe very loosely I say that, did. Maybe they're learning from their mistakes, because that, of course, created a shitstorm for those guys and still has. Matter of fact, they did a review. The guy talking about The Killing, Damon Lindelof talking about The Killing, he's like, look, I like The Killing because because they're giving it, you're giving her another shot. Unlike, people like me, no one gives me a shot anymore because I ruined Lost, but I don't know.
Nobody ruined Lost. Lost was awesome.
I agree with that, 150%. That's 50% beyond normal acceptance. That's how much.
Impossible.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I love it so much. It's impossible. That's very weird.
I never got that phrase, 110%. I'm just like, you guys realize that makes no sense, right?
It makes even for a math no brain like me, it doesn't make sense. Hey, Sunday nights is going to actually become the Sword and Sorcery night on television, I think. Yes. Between Once Upon a Time and then right after that comes Game of Thrones.
Yes. Tonight, you've already seen the first 4 episodes, correct?
I've seen the first 4 episodes. I have.
I'm insanely jealous of you.
Oh my God, I am. Jimmy, Jimmy described the anger, more of just envy of my.
He's like frothing at the mouth. I think I might need to call an ambulance. There's like white foam coming out.
Because, I am such a...
Now, I've read about the first 150 pages of book 2, so I'm familiar with how the plot's going to start. But just tell us, does it live up to season 1?
I like it a lot. In fact, in some ways, and I love Sean Bean. When I read the books, I was so depressed when Ned Stark got killed. I was so depressed. It took me a long time to actually pick up book 2. Because for me, he was like my hero. But season 2 of Game of Thrones is great. It's every bit as good as season 1. I think it is in some ways a lot easier to follow for some reason.
Maybe because we've had the time to learn who all the characters are by this point. I mean, I know they had a bunch of new ones, but it's not like you're trying to learn everybody all over again.
Right. I mean, most of the characters are from last season. You have Stannis Baratheon, played by the awesome, amazing, and wonderful Stephen Delane, who is, see, there we go again, British actor. He's one of my favorite actors.
Well, I know the woman playing his wife is Anne Boleyn from The Tudors.
Yeah, she's playing Renly Baratheon's wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, this is why I'm not watching it yet. God. So she's married to the gay one.
Yeah, she's married to the gay one, okay. Right. So she's new in the series. Stephen Delane played Thomas Jefferson in HBO's John Adams.
Oh, that was an awesome miniseries.
He's in it? Oh my God, that's awesome. Because I know
he's
one
of the great actor.
Yes, he is. No, yeah, because I love John Adams. I bought that on DVD,
and I read the book. Yeah, that was brilliant.
Oh my God, yeah, because that is like the whole bane of that movie is the Jefferson Adams relationship and his wife, of course.
But then Stannis has a sorceress, right?
Yes, he has Melisande. Yes, he has a sorceress.
God damn, angry that you see these already.
I'm going to watch it live tonight.
I'm so excited for this.
There will be a review written first thing in the morning for Game of Thrones.
My hero of second season so far. And, it's funny because when I read the books, I wasn't a big Tyrion Lannister fan. But he is so awesome.
That's the credit to Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Peter is just awesome.
He should be everything.
He's like the new Ben Affleck. I'm kidding.
And you usually think of British actors as sort of being the guys who will steal every scene that they're in because they're so charismatic. Mm-hmm. And Dinklage, who's an American actor, who's one of the few non-Brits in the cast, mm-hmm. just overpowers every single scene that he's in. He's so good, and he's so funny, and he's so, in his own way, so noble. Yes. And he's like most likable, to me, he's like the most likable character in the entire.
Has he kind of stepped up and taken Sean Bean's place as like the heart and star of the show?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, he's first listed in the credits.
Really? Cool. Well, he deserves it. I mean, I begrudge him nothing. He was awesome in season 1.
Well, because I watched season 1, because I enjoyed Sean Bean, but he was my favorite. Him and Snow were my favorite characters, but more it was
Tyrion.
And I kept saying, I was like, every episode, even the first time, he's barely in the episode in the pilot, I think. Yeah. But I kept going. Dinklage is awesome. He deserves an Emmy nomination for like the 5 minutes he's on screen here, and the next episode he blew you away.
I was just disappointed that because they ran out of budget, at the end of the season, they had that big battle, and he just gets conked on the head and they wakes up and it's over. Whereas in the book, he leads the troops to battle and is this heroic figure.
Well, I think they might maybe try to tackle that this season.
They did say they'd make up for it this season, but that in the books, he was part of that battle. He wasn't unconscious for it.
Oh man, I'm so pumped for that show. Yeah. I am very excited.
Really,
with everything that's on, this is a huge night for TV, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And then, and I'm going to watch them again. They sent them to me. A lot of times screeners come to you, they send you a link. Uh-huh. You have to watch your computer. They sent DVDs, which was awesome. So they weren't high definition, but so I'm like really excited to see it in high def tonight with all of the effects in it, because some of the effects weren't finalized yet.
Does this that's what you said about getting the screeners in standard definition? I don't watch screeners that I get links to on the computer because I hate to sit at my computer. I don't think it's comfortable. I just the screen's small. I just don't care for it. But that's kind of made me upset about the screeners I do get, because they all are DVD, and I watch and record everything in high def now. So it's really frustrating to me that we don't get. I know that sounds like I'm just
such a whiny bitch.
I know it sounds horrible. I'm spoiled.
I get screeners
but
and no one else does.
At this point, I'm not nearly as anxious to get screeners as I was a year ago, because it makes me sad that I don't watch them in HD, and I don't have the time to rewatch every screener I get when it airs.
Well, Game of Thrones is something my husband's now, because he's never been a fantasy fan, but he's been reading the books. He's all the way through book 3, and he's about to start book 4. And I never thought he'd be into a fantasy, sci-fi fantasy show. But it's funny because he said to me, because he knows that I'm like hooked on Robert Carlyle now, and he says, well, why isn't Robert Carlyle in Game of Thrones? And
double duty.
Very busy with ones that a lot of people he's starred with in other movies are in Game of Thrones, but including Cersei, the actress who plays her, and Robert Baratheon, and
Cersei was Sarah Connor in Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Yes, she was.
Amazing show.
Yeah. And Mark Addy was in Full Monty, who plays Robert Baratheon. People won't recognize. I didn't recognize him until like 3 episodes in. I'm like, oh, I know that voice. Where do I know that voice from? And it was Mark Addy from the Full Monty who plays the leads. So watch for, well, he's dead. So, I mean, not Mark Addy, the character of Robert Baratheon's dead.
Right. Yeah, and I'm going to miss him, too. I actually was a couple weeks behind at the end of the season because I catch up on shows to review them, and then I get behind because I'm watching other shows that I need to review. Even my favorite shows, I don't get to watch every week. But Entertainment Weekly spoiled the Sean Bean thing by running the picture, and I hadn't watched the episode yet. I almost canceled my subscription. But I feel like Game of Thrones is one of those ones, no matter how busy you are, you just got to make the time because you can't afford to have that stuff spoiled for you. I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Matter of fact, I felt the same way, at least, especially towards the last 5 episodes of Boardwalk Empire for season 2. Because season 1 I was very iffy on because it was just so slow moving, and like for a show that's technically about gangsters, and you're just like, oh my god. Even the last season of The Sopranos moved faster than that, and you just sort of watching because C.B. Simi is really good at what he does. And the art direction is amazing too. But then the season 2, they picked up, like, it was cooking with gas. And then the big, so I'm going to, spoiler alert, they kill off.
Yeah, I know. I haven't watched it yet, but it has been
They kill off the lead. Besides C.B. Simi, the show is based around Jimmy and Nucky. Right. They kill Jimmy off. And I'm just going, oh my god, because usually in television writing, you're like, okay, the character will stay around for a few more seasons, and then when the series ends, he'll get killed then. No, they took him out, and I'm like, wow.
I need to be a professional writer that stays home and has time to catch up, because that's spoiled for me, because I haven't got the Boardwalk Empire yet. And Walking Dead, Dale's death was spoiled for me. Thankfully, Shane's was not. And just whenever
Shane
I fall
wasn't
behind,
spoiled for you?
No, I somehow
they announced
stayed
it
deaf.
2 weeks before.
I somehow stayed deaf to it.
Wow.
But I did hear about Dale, and I just it just kills me when I have to go to work or whatever.
How did you hear about Dale? Were they talking about it at work or
Twitter?
Oh, it wasn't me, was it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes I do. I'm actually a lot better than I was, but I used to be really bad at that. And
I try to watch that too, but I figure after 72 hours, everything's fair game. Even though I'm often more than 72 hours behind.
Yeah, well, the hard thing is, when you get a screener, and Jerome, you know this too, is, you get a screener and you write a review in advance, like a preview, and then you have to be really careful, you don't want to spoil too much, but then you sort of, at least I feel with the stuff that I follow, because I don't write recap-y sorts of reviews. I tend to write more essays and commentaries. So I feel like, okay, well, I've really got to go back now, and I've got to write a commentary, so I have to double cover the episodes that I see in advance, almost.
I did that a couple times, but now mostly I just go ahead and write a full review and try to have it pending on Blog Critics so that it can go live that night, and then I feel like I've done my job. I mean, I know they want you to promote. I'll promote them on Twitter ahead, but trying to do that recap-y, facts, non-spoilery preview is... I just don't have time for it.
Well, to me, it's tedious too, because why recap? At least for me, why recap everything that happened? Talk about what it all means, like.
Right.
And for me, I don't want that stuff spoiled. Even if you're not doing spoilers, just the teasing stuff. I just would rather go into it fresh.
Yeah, that's why when I reviewed The Walking Dead with Dale dying, I did put spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even come right out and say it. I at least gave you 3 more sentences before I broke it that Dale got.
The older I get, the more I hate spoilers. I don't even tend to watch the previews at the end of episodes anymore for next week's episode. I know.
I'm just
too many networks spoil too many things to do that.
I stopped watching the sneak peeks and stuff for House just because not the sneak peeks, but the preview at the end of the previous episode, because they're so misleading.
Mm-hmm.
And
ABC is bad about that, doing misleading ones.
Who is this guy?
ABC is bad about it, but House has gotten bad too.
Yeah, no, I've liked to see the previews for Once Upon a Time, the preview at the end of the episode, just because it's fun to parse. But I've stopped doing that for House just because it's like crazy how much they're misleading.
Yeah, Well, I remember, ABC. I remember, was it Eli Stone? We loved Eli Stone when Jimmy and I were living together. We TiVo'd it, and it was one of the few times we actually were watching it at the same time. And it was for season 2. They promoted the girl who married Tom Cruise.
Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. They publicized she was going to be on.
And they had her in the previews, and then you had to wait like a month for her to show up.
Yeah, she didn't show up for like a month, and you're just like...
Well, I've just honestly, in the last year, I'd say at least half a dozen times I've watched one of those little previews at the end, and it's spoiled something major for the next episode.
Oh, Chuck
So
did that.
I've just stopped watching... Yeah, it's Chuck with the Shaw thing.
That's like the
so
best
I've
video
just
ever.
stopped watching it altogether because I'm tired of being spoiled. I'd so much rather go in completely unknowing anything. I've even stopped reading every Osceola column. I read a lot, but I don't read them all anymore just because I was getting spoiled too much.
Yeah, me too. And you know what I found? Last season, I read every spoiler and watched every preview and everything about House. And I'm finding this year I'm not doing that, and I'm actually enjoying the episodes a lot more.
Yep. Absolutely.
Interesting. I should do that with a show. Like, choose a show and as an experiment.
See if you like it better?
Yeah.
Do it with Game of Thrones. Starts tonight.
I don't know. Well, by the time this is released.
Or it starts a couple of days ago. It was awesome. I love that part with the sorceress.
Yes, that was awesome. Yes. But no, I'll have to. Well, I won't do it with Game of Thrones. I'll do it for next season. That way,
Or The Killing starts tonight as well.
Yeah.
See, tonight's so busy. I'd like to cover Once Upon a Time because it does look like such a big episode. But with The Killing premiering, Game of Thrones premiering, Californication, House of Lies, and Shameless ending, I just feel like I'm not going to have time to hit anything.
You mean you didn't have time?
I mean, I didn't have time, right? I mean, I haven't even watched any of the season of Shameless. I'm going to be marathoning Shameless for the next 24 hours.
This was recorded April 1st. And this is
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Everything we've said is a lie.
Everything we said is that's right. Right now, this is all a giant April Fool's Day.
This isn't the last season of House.
Nope.
We don't have Barbara Barnett on the line. It's actually Olivia Wilde posing as Barbara Barnett.
That's right. Thank you, 13. And yeah.
And Game of Thrones doesn't return for another 6 months.
Oh, seriously, that would piss me off. That was because I want to watch that show so bad.
Sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
And Battlestar Galactica was crap.
I have not seen any of the Game of Thrones episodes at all.
Oh, that cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
As everything. Yeah, I know. I do like getting screeners, though. I shouldn't complain about the HD
Yeah,
stuff.
I got a few of the FX ones for Wilfred and Louis last season, and they were fantastic. It was especially nice, especially with Wilfred, because I remember I watched it by myself, and I did not find that show enjoyable. Like, I liked the characters, and I liked what it was trying to do, but I didn't find it funny. And then so we had it on the podcast, and I showed it to Jon and Nathan, and they were like cracking up. And then it became, it was very weird. It became funny.
Wilfred needed multiple viewings.
Yeah, and after that, the show became funny to me. It was really weird. Like, I saw it in a. But,
I'm going to admit right now, though, and I am ashamed of this. Because FX was sending me every episode of things and my TiVo was full, I still haven't watched 5 episodes of Louis from last year.
Oh, no.
And I love Louis. Louis is amazing. It's original.
Did you at least watch the episode where he went overseas?
Yeah, I reviewed Duckling, but
I was going to say,
his episodes are so standalone, I went ahead and just skipped to Duckling. I didn't watch the ones leading up to it.
You heartless bastard.
Yeah, I know. Duckling was amazing, though.
Duckling was awesome. Well, we've been talking for an hour, 16 minutes.
I guess we better wrap it up.
So, yeah, we better wrap it up. Barbara, was there anything else you'd like to plug besides Blog Critics and your website where they can, and also Chasing Zebras? Anything else beyond that?
No, if we can plug those, that's great. If you're a fan of Once Upon a Time or House, make sure to look me up on blogcritics.org. And I always post my reviews the morning after an episode airs. I don't follow lots and lots of shows like Jerome Wetzel TV does, but the ones I do, I try to get them up the next morning and come on and join the fun.
Definitely. Well, we'll have all the links under the show notes over at gbgpodcast.com. There'll be links there, so it'll take you right to Amazon, get Chasing Zebras, and of course all the links for so you can get in contact and follow Barbara on the World Wide Web. And
BarbaraBarnett.com. B_Barnett on Twitter.
You're a beast.
And for me, JeromeWetzelTV.blogspot.com and at Jerome Wetzel TV on Twitter.
And TV King?
Well, yeah, I also write for the TVKing.com, blogcreeks.org, and Examiner.com.
Yeah, there you go. I gotta say, Jimmy, you're like a beast. You have like a full range of just...
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, I envy you, man, in that regard.
If only it paid the bills.
Yes. Well, thanks everyone for listening for this episode of Jerome Wetzel TV, featured on The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you start up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!
What the fuck am I supposed to say? What song is that?